what's a heck yes? Like, what am I super excited about? And then anything that's not a heck yes, I've really got to decide, is that going to stay on my calendar?
Welcome, high-performing entrepreneurs and business owners. Do you suffer from shiny object syndrome? Do you often feel scattered and distracted, making it hard to implement your plan with all the ideas and strategies coming at you? Do you often wonder if you have the right goals and plan? Welcome to Extraordinary Focus with David Wood, where we help you achieve way more in less time. Get the laser focus you need so you can double your business, double your impact in the world, and be an even more extraordinary entrepreneur and human. Let's dive in and stay tuned at the end for your gift. Welcome everybody to another awesome episode. And I've got such an exciting guest, John Lee Dumas. JLD is the host of Entrepreneurs on Fire, an award-winning podcast where he interviews the world's most successful entrepreneurs. Get this, past guests include Tony Robbins, Seth Godin, and I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty proud of this, David Wood. That's right. And thousands more. He's got over 2,000 episodes, 70 million downloads, and 1 million monthly listens. JLD has built a media empire with a massive fan base, aptly called Fire Nation. Welcome, JLD.
Well, listen, I am fired up to be here, brother. You have been on my radar for quite some time, obviously as a past guest, and the engagements that we've had together. I can remember way back in 2013 when I first moved to San Diego with the podcast and with Entrepreneurs on Fire. I got a little email from a friend of ours, Michael O'Neill, who was working with you at the time. And he kind of put you on my radar. And I was like, this guy's doing some really cool things. We had a lot of fun together back then and then since then as well. And it's just great that 8 years later, we can still be cranking it.
Yeah, thank you, man. That feels good to hear. And we're going to talk in this episode about how to be an extraordinary entrepreneur and human. And the reason I'm so excited to have you here is because when we connected, when I was on your podcast, and then we talked later about your business and everything, I got the sense that you not only have business dialed in a unique way, but you have life dialed in. And you had this beautiful blend. The way I experience you is dignity, like you know your stuff, you know what you're talking about, and also humility. You were open to learning and listening, and that's a rare combination in a human.
Well, I received that. Thank you for sharing. And, one thing I'll just kind of add to that is I really feel like one of my better qualities when it comes to running a business is honestly knowing when enough is enough, when to stop grinding on X, Y, or Z, when to just close down the computer and go out for a walk or hit my gym, or when to just turn my mind off as well. So I have that blend, like you said, of that balance with life and business. And, for a lot of people that I see that struggle with long-term businesses, it's because they're just in grind mode. They just don't know when to say no or when to stop the business side of things. And I get it because it's exciting to grow and it's hard to say no to great opportunities. But those people that I see still doing it are ones that do. And those that I see that end up burning out are those that struggle.
I'm blown away hearing that. And it's because of the timing. And I'm going to grab a pen because I got to write some of this stuff down. I'm working with an energy healer right now. I don't know a lot about energy. I don't know anything about energy healing, but I'm like, let me see what I can learn about my own energy. And the theme that keeps coming up is that I'm overriding my own body. I'm pushing. I'm grinding. I can see the vision. I'm a sail by ideas and strategies and opportunities. And so I want to keep on pushing, but to the detriment of my body. Is that in the direction of what you're talking about?
It's 100% in the direction. I mean, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to everything else you otherwise could be doing. So, at the stage that I'm at, 8 years into Entrepreneurs on Fire, 2,600 plus episodes, 7 years in a row of net profit of over 7 figures a year. I mean, I just have boundless and endless opportunities. And I'm not saying that to brag by any means. I'm just saying that as number one, reality. Number two, hopefully that people can learn and listen from this is because I could say yes to so many amazing things and I would be going nonstop. And guess what? Would my bottom line at the end of the year be higher? Absolutely. But where would my health be? Like, where would my happiness be? Where would my joy be? Like, where would my life experiences that I'm looking to create with this location independent, financial independent business be? So if I say yes to this potentially great opportunity that could put a couple extra zeros in my bank account on any given month, at the same time, am I saying no to gym sessions that week? Am I saying no to my sauna? Am I saying no to my long walks with my dog, who's right here beside me? His name is Gus. Am I saying no to spending time with Kate? Am I saying no to this 3-week vacation I'm about to embark upon back to San Diego to just relax on the bay? And that's the questions that I think people need to always be asking themselves. And like, you're going to go through seasons of life, seasons of a business. But the reality is, once you've gotten through that first season of your business, of where you do have to just sit down, commit to getting it off the ground, getting that initial momentum and getting to where you want to be revenue-wise, that next season has to come pretty quick of saying, okay, now how do I balance and get back into balance if I've come out of balance from that first season into season 2, which is, for me, health, wellness, business, family, relationships, experiences. Those things need to be all part of my life, where they might not have been so much in season 1, because number 1 is some lack of just knowledge and experience, not knowing any better. And number 2, because I had to get that business off the ground, which does take a lot of extra initial work. But now, instead of going for those extra zeros, I'm going for the extra quality of life.
Wow. Let me recap this for listeners and myself. So you got to know when to stop grinding, and you've got to have some discipline in learning what to say no to. There's so many shiny objects as entrepreneurs we can follow, but if you follow them all, health is going to suffer. And what I got from what you said on the concept of balance is define season 1 for yourself. Like, when is that? What is the time frame? And then how will you know when it's time for season 2, where you're going to bring in more balance? So would you say, John, that in setting your targets, which seems to be something that's very important if you're going to focus, you got to know, well, what am I going to focus on? In setting your targets, that you include some life goals, some life targets, some balance goals?
100%. I mean, for me, if I'm not going to have balanced goals, I'm not going to have a balanced life, then I'm not going to have a business that's going to be able to continue and drive forward in the same manner I want to 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. So I'm having that balance. And I love the fact that you use that word focus, which is truly one of my favorite words, which is follow one course until success. And that truly is my life. Like, this week, by the way, has been a really tough week. And I kind of shared a little bit about that before we hit the record button here, where I'm about to go on a 3.5-week vacation. So yes, there still are batches of time in my life, this week specifically, where I did 12 interviews for Entrepreneurs on Fire. You are one of 20 interviews today I'm doing on other people's shows. So this week has been like all in business focus, and I've slacked off a little bit on some of the things I don't normally like to, like health and wellness, but I know that I have to do that when I'm transitioning into a 3.5 week of almost completely turned off pure vacation mode, where I will be taking that time to revitalize, to get my energy back to where I want it to be, to dial in a couple knobs that I maybe unloosened a little bit while I was getting done what had to be done business-wise. So there is those times where you're going to have to batch, focus, and grind and go all in. And for me, that's always going to be right before I go on one of these long trips. Last year, David, I went on a 90-day European trip where I did nothing more than 30-minute check-in in the mornings and a 30-minute check-in in the evenings. And Kate and I did 17 countries in 90 days. We were all over Western and Eastern Europe. It was incredible. And my business flowed smoothly along because the couple weeks before that, I was in pure grind mode. So there always has to be that balance when you want to be really living that life where you're doing the on-off, location-independent type of living.
So inspiring. You know, I don't tend to take vacations like that. But I also live in a mountain home, you know, overlooking a valley. And Thomas Leonard used to say to people, when they say, why don't you take time off? He said, I'm on a lifetime vacation. What's your question? You know, but I could use that. I could use a week. And as my energy healer is telling me now, I need to learn like pushing can serve me at some times, but I need to learn when are those times to say, hey, enough.
Yeah.
This can be done tomorrow. This can be, in fact, what I did today, JLD, is I went through my 8-week goals list and I asked myself, what would the simpler version of this be?
That's a good question.
And I wrote down the things that are most important and the things that I could skip or delay. Game changer for
Yeah.
me.
Another thing I like to do when I'm looking at my calendar is what's a heck yes? Like, what am I super excited about? And then anything that's not a heck yes, I've really got to decide, is that going to stay on my calendar? And again, I like to do that before it even goes on my calendar, but I still want to do that recheck at the beginning of every week as well to make sure that my week is consisting of things that are absolute heck yes for me. That's super critical. So love that mindset.
And I do love the word focus. And I don't know if you notice this. This is the new domain.
.ceo, super cool.
Focus.ceo, right? I'm very excited about it.
Should be.
So look, I know you've got a lot of things to do today. I don't want to keep you too long. Any last tip for our listeners who want to be not just an extraordinary entrepreneur, but a more extraordinary human?
Yeah, let me give 3 tips on both of those sides real quick. And I know we'll be able to make this happen in a very concise manner because I'm very passionate about these 6 things. So let's kind of start with the business side. For me, there's 3 words that really exemplify a successful entrepreneur. And this is from 8 years of running my own 7-figure business. This is from 2,600 plus interviews of successful individuals and entrepreneurs like yourself, David, and so many others, of course, that I've learned that these entrepreneurs, they really possess these 3 things. And you're going to love number 3 for obvious reasons. But number 1, productivity. Like, they are productive individuals. And this is a tricky one because a lot of people think they're productive. And then I'm like, oh, what'd you do today? And they're like, oh my God, I woke up and I dropped the kids off at school. Then I went to the grocery market and then I came back and I sent out some social media stuff and I did all this stuff. And I'm like, I was so busy. I was so productive. And I'm like, busy and productive, not the same thing, not even close. Being productive as far as an entrepreneur that's successful means you're producing the right content every day. So if you can't tell me when I ask you what you've produced that day that's actually meaningful and moving your business forward, you haven't been productive. So that's number 1. Really get detailed and specific and hold yourself accountable to that. Number 2 is discipline. I'm an officer of the U.S. Army. Like, I spent 8 years leading and being led by some of the best commanders and leaders in the world. And I've learned a lot. Yeah, I learned a lot from that. I spent 13 months in Iraq. So like in a real wartime environment where discipline meant life or death. So I definitely did develop really impressive discipline at a young age. But what a lot of people don't realize when I say discipline, I mean, you are a disciple to a plan of action. So every morning when you wake up, you have a plan of action. What are you going to do today? I could do a screen share right now, David, and you would see that you're number 1 and you're the only person that I have a 30-minute block for. But every other interview that I have today is back to back to back. And there's 20 total interviews I'm doing today on other shows. So I am planning to crush it today, to be a guest on other shows. And hey, I don't do this every day. I don't do this every week. Yeah. 1 day per month. This is my Super Bowl for being interviewed on other shows. And I crush it and I commit to it. I'm disciplined. I'm a disciple to my plan of action. And then I execute. Number 3, focus. You love it, Mr. Focus.ceo. But for me, it's all about following one course until success. So many people are scatterbrained and they're all over the place. They have their notifications going off for their phone, for their email, for all these different things. And they're never actually focusing. Use the Pomodoro method. Set your timer for 20, 40, 60 minutes, however long you need, and have 0 distractions for that time block. So productive, disciplined, focused. And to be a better human being, number 1, you use the word humility. That's so, so important. I grew up with my uncle, Steve. I can give him credit for this because he said it over and over again. Be humble, be happy. So I always equated humble and humility with happiness. And so that's always been a big tenet for me. Number 2, it's going to be the health side of things. Like if you're not taking care of yourself, eating well, sleeping well, exercising well, you're not going to be able to be a good human being because your body's not going to be able to give you what it needs for you to shine, for you to glow. People are like, John, how do you always have all this energy? And I don't. I take big downtimes. I'll take a nap if I need to. I'm sleeping at least 8 hours a day. My goal is 9. I don't usually get there, but I want to be there. I mean, I am committing to my health side of things. That is so absolutely critical. So you need to be very humble and you need to have that humility. You need to be focusing on your health, and then you need to be engaging with other human beings. This is the world that we live in. We need to embrace engagement, asking people, what is your biggest struggle right now, especially people in your audience? And then you can create solutions for their problems. And that's how you have a successful business. People want this like unbelievably convoluted, confusing way to get to a successful business. The simplest answer, and all the most successful businesses of all time have done something. They've created solutions to problems, period, end of story.
You heard it here, listeners. Productivity, discipline, and focus. And I'm going to invite you, listener, to pick one of these for the next 7 days. Put it in your calendar every day. Talk to your family about it. It could be productivity, discipline, or focus, or humility, health, or engaging with the world. John, thanks so much for being on the show. It's so good to see you. Where can people find out more about you?
eofire.com is where all the magic happens. I have a lot of free courses there for entrepreneurs, and my podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire. Check it out.
Go and listen to that. All right, man. Thanks for being on the show. You've been listening to Extraordinary Focus with David Wood. Now, to achieve way more in less time, to double your business and your impact in the world, and to be an even more extraordinary entrepreneur and human, make sure you get your gift basket. It includes a cheat sheet to double your focus, a short video to implement the steps, and a free focus audit to identify the #1 focus leak in your business and how to plug it. To get all 3 of these goodies, just go to myfocusgift.com. If you've gotten value out of this episode, tell your friends. And nothing says keep up the good work, David, like a review, which helps us climb in the rankings and reach more listeners. Now, let's be extraordinary.